This video will overview the interview analysis project that we're going to be working on in the first half of the semester, and also give you the tools you need to complete step 1 of the assignment, which is contributing to the wiki, where we will be developing our interview questions. As a brief overview, this assignment requires the following steps. First, we're going to be working together to develop an interview guide. And in sociology lingo, an interview guide is the set of questions that is used to conduct an in-depth interview with participants. We will be all using the same interview guide. So regardless of if you're interviewing your grandma or your cousin or your best friend or someone you know from work, everyone who's in this class will be using those same questions that we generated together collectively. Now, you're probably wondering, who am I going to interview? Well, there's just one requirement. You need to select a married or cohabiting couple that has been living together for at least 1 year. Again, this could be someone who's been together for 60 years. This could be someone who just married in 2015. It is required that you schedule separate interviews with each partner, and that way they're not being influenced perhaps by the partner sitting in the room, and hopefully giving the most genuine responses. During each interview, you're going to take comprehensive notes, both of what is expressed verbally and non-verbally during that interview, and you'll be using those for the next step of the process, which will be an analysis of the information you gathered during the interview process. So essentially, your notes are like your data. And so what we're going to do is sift through that data to seek out what we call central themes. And themes are either topics that came up multiple times throughout the interviews, or perhaps topics that seem especially important or meaningful to your participants. We'll focus in on 3 to 4 themes that'll become the body of our paper, using information from the interviews and specific examples from the interviews. We're going to explore how the experiences of the individual family connect with course content. How does it relate to maybe theoretical approaches we've covered? How does it relate to key terms or concepts? And perhaps, how does the experience of this family relate to larger family patterns that we know exist in the U.S.? And so your final product for this project will be a paper that you will submit electronically, just to me, but also to your peers. So you'll get feedback from me, and then you'll also have the opportunity to read the work of 2 of your peers and give them constructive feedback on their assignment, but also you get the rich opportunity to see what other peers learned in this project who likely interviewed a family who has a very different experience than the one you yourself have interviewed. The primary goal of this assignment is to demonstrate your ability to interpret how the individual family process of the family you've chosen to interview intersects with the larger context of family in the U.S., the trends that we note, as well as being able to apply sociological perspectives. And so this analysis process is a higher level of learning, which also I'm hoping will be a platform for you to demonstrate your understanding of more complex ideas that we've explored to that point in this semester. Some of the objectives in this process is to understand the methodology that we're going to be using, which is interviewing. I'm also interested in seeing your ability to synthesize interview data into these themes, so to be able to sift through it to find the most central ideas that emerge to the interview process. In your analysis, I want to see that connection with course content, to see that you have a knowledge of the U.S. family patterns that we'll have explored in the class, and to be able to compare and contrast the family experience with, again, the larger U.S. context. And finally, I'm interested in being able to apply the sociological terms, concepts, and perspectives through analysis of the family experience. And ultimately, this will be presented in a well-organized APA formatted paper. The timeline for this project is that by September 10th, you're required to participate in the interview wiki, and I'll get to that in a few minutes. If you're like, wiki what? I will give you a lowdown on how to do that. And once the wiki has been completed and closes for student comment, I'll synthesize all the information that has been submitted to the wiki into one interview questionnaire that you'll be able to download and use for your interviews. You'll have about a month from when we develop the interview questions to when you'll submit your analysis paper, which is due on October 15th. And then you're required to complete peer reviews, which will be assigned to you within the following week, which are due by the 22nd of October. So our first step in this process is going to be to develop the questions that we're going to use to conduct the interviews. So I've posted a document on Moodle in the Projects tab called Strategies for Qualitative Interviews. I really hope that you take the time to thoroughly read that document, especially the second half at this point. Pages 3 and 4 focus specifically on recommendations for developing strong interview questions. So that will really help your contributions to the wiki be more meaningful. And part of how I'm going to grade you on the wiki is whether or not you contribute questions that really follow the guidelines that are outlined in that document. Some things that you want to think about as you're contributing to these questions is, what are things about the family or relationship experience that are interesting for you, right? This is a learning experience and a unique opportunity to find out about how families work. So I'd love for you to bring your own curiosity to this project and to the questions you develop. I also am thinking that, within the next couple of weeks, we'll start to dig into more course content, and perhaps there's things we've talked about even in these early stages of the class that may have sparked an interest in you and that you might think would be relevant to ask a couple about. And then the final thing you want to keep in mind is what are questions that you personally would be comfortable in asking during an interview. Because keep in mind that the ultimate questionnaire will be the questionnaire used by all students in the class, and those students might be interviewing, again, their best friend or their grandma. And so we might want to consider whether or not we'd feel comfortable asking very sensitive questions, and that's something for you to think about in your own comfort level. So the requirement in this first step of developing questions is that you need to submit at least 2 original questions to the wiki, and the requirement is that they haven't already been posted by another student, right? We're looking for original thought. Like most things in this class, like the discussion board, that means if you have questions you really want to ask and you're afraid another student might ask it, you should probably post early because you want to make sure you're not duplicating the thoughts of another student. If not, you're going to have to do more work to think of new questions. The other requirement is beyond providing your 2 original questions is you need to edit, comment on, or add to at least 3 questions posed by other students. So the idea is that within this wiki, we will also be doing sort of peer development of the question. So if there's a question that seemed to be worded a little choppily, you can go in and add to it or change the wording to get the best product possible. Now, some of the recommendations that I've drawn from that document, I mentioned the strategies for the successful interviews, would be make sure that the questions you pose are focused and specific. You want to avoid questions like why. They tend to sound kind of confronting. Instead, say things like how. How did you come to this arrangement? How did you make that decision? Which allows someone to explain their process while not feeling attacked. Another thing to consider is that you really want to get people talking. So a good interview is a discussion. A poor interview are yes-no answers and yes-no questions. So some ways to get people talking is to ask things like, give me an example of, explain to me how, can you describe to me? And that really forces your respondent to talk, and that's our ultimate goal. And then also consider that you want to develop questions that are relevant for participants from diverse family types. Although you specifically might be really interested in the STEP family experience, note that a lot of your peers probably aren't interviewing people who are part of a STEP family, so that question wouldn't be really relevant to their interview participant. Now I'm going to move on to giving you some detailed instructions about how to participate in a wiki. Now, if you've never heard of WIKI before, it stands for shared content. So think about Wikipedia and realize that multiple authors contribute to any information posted on Wikipedia pages. So in a wiki on Moodle, you have the ability to add new content, edit content added by other users, and to add new pages to further organize information. So I'm going to lay out for you how to perform these different functions in the So the first step is, how do I open up the wiki? As you'll note here, the wiki icon in Moodle kind of looks like cow print, and it's going to be labeled interview questionnaire. So go ahead and click on the title to open it up. And once you're there, this is what you will see when you open up the wiki. At the top of the page, it'll give you information about the assignment, and then it will also list what pages have already been created on the wiki. I've already created a handful of pages just to get you started, but you can always add to my baseline, so don't feel like that's limiting in any way. I just wanted to give you some ideas to get rolling. Now, in order to add to a specific question, you want to select on the page title. So if I wanted to add demographic questions, I'd select the blue demographic questions, and it would open up that page. Once the page is open, it opens it in view mode. View mode is where you can see what content is already available on this page, but in order for you to add content, you need to select edit. And once you're in the editing mode, that's where you can add new content as well as edit the content already provided by other students. So this looks just like when we're in a forum mode and you're writing your forum post, although you'll be able to see again what has already been posted by other students. So you have the opportunity here to change formatting and stuff. It's not a requirement, but you're welcome to do that. You could copy and paste if you develop some questions on a separate document and you want to copy and paste them in here, you can do that. But just remember that whatever changes you made, stick with it. So you want to be thoughtful about making those edits to the work of your peers. And then when you're done here, just select Save Changes button at the bottom of the page to make sure that your work is visible to other participants in the wiki. Now again, editing is occurring in the same window that you'll be adding content. But when you save the changes, you're going to be overwriting previous content. And I do have the power, if you accidentally deleted something by another student, please let me know, because I have the ability to revert back to original state. So if you have an issue, let me know as soon as possible, and I'll go back and try to revert it and fix it. But don't feel too scared about adding on to other students' work. The goal is collaboration, and so if we're too hesitant to do that, it won't allow us to really develop, hopefully, the best content for our interview questionnaire. And then just another kind of thought about how to get around in the wiki is that in order to navigate through it, you'll notice across the top section will be under the interview questionnaire. If you select that, that will take you back to the main page, and then the subpages like relationship formation are also available, or you can view which page you're on. But if you want to go back to the main page, just select interview questionnaire, either from that top listing or from the left-hand panel. Now, the other thing that you can do is add new pages. So to create a new page, you need to enter a title into the Create a New Page box and then select Create. And you can add pages to the main page, or you can add them to subpages. So it gets a little crazy, but you can have 3 or 4 layers of subpages. So if you wanted to, under relationship formation, maybe there's a specific subpage you think is important under that to further help organize it, you're welcome to add there. They're probably most relevant on this main page, but I'll leave it up to your imagination. So hopefully you have a clear understanding of what the broad goals are of this project, and what you need to complete in order to participate in the first step, which is the WIKI. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me via email or office hours, and I'd be happy to clarify further. I'm really looking forward to the content that you contribute to our wiki and to developing a cohesive interview guide with the support and working in collaboration with your peers.